Welcome to the Don't You Worry podcast. We're your hosts, Briley and Britton Caldwell, and we're here to say, don't you worry, through stories, encouragement, and joy. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation.
What is up, you guys? We are back with the Don't You Worry podcast. It's your favorite hosts, Briley and Britton, and we are so pumped to be back and better than ever in the studio. And we are starting a little mini-series, and it is called Let's Get Real. So we've been doing tons of fun interviews. We've been doing some reels and some great content that we're going to be putting out soon as well. But this series, we really just wanted to get down with some real subjects that both of me and you have both been thinking about and that we have been really just cramming it out on, and we want to get so real with you guys, so take it away.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of just me and you conversations about just some real topics. We were like, let's just dive right in, and it's going to be so good. So we're going to do a little mini series on it, and today's is Let's Get Real about brain dumping. Because here's the thing, if we're being completely honest, we've got a lot in our brains. Both you and me have dealt with just as people, there's a lot on your brain all the time. And I know that a lot of people, sometimes it can be overwhelming, all the different thoughts and things in your head, or sometimes we don't know how to deal with the thoughts in our head, or I don't know. So we're just going to talk about the concept that we actually learned through Kate Downing's Bible study called Fighting with Fear. Highly recommend it. We've talked to Kate on the podcast before, and we love her very much. And this idea of brain dumping comes from an idea ultimately of what's in your control versus what's out of your control. Because the things that are in control, ultimately God gave you control over that. And the things out of your control, only God can handle. You can't even touch it, you know? So we wanted to talk today, before we dive into this really good concept, we wanted to just talk about the power of our all-knowing God. Because there's a lot that can stress us out a lot of the times, mostly just because we don't know everything. And the fact that our God, He created us. He knows the world. He knows the universe. His power is so beyond our understanding. I love it when verses in the Bible say words about God like awe-inspiring or unthinkable or a word like that. That it truly tells you we can't even imagine this kind of love. Like in a worship song, I'll start singing about God's praise and I'm like, He's just so good. So this story in Job 38, is a story about Job doubting, and he was in a time of a lot of trouble. He lost a lot, and he was doubting God's power, and he was doubting the place and season of life he was in. So read the verses of God's response to him, because it's so humbling in a way that it's so powerful.
Yeah, this is Job 38, 4-5. It says, "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it?" So, like, that's a situation where God is telling Job, like, he was the one who was there whenever the beginning of time was made. Like, he was there. Yeah. He was the one who created everything. And it's like, God is all-knowing, and He's the one who is fully in control because He created everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like, He created us in His own image, and He created us to reflect the character of God and all of those beautiful things. And He's the one who created light. He created the earth. He was literally like, it always blows my mind whenever I sit and think about it for a while, because I'm like, how did He just like create something out of absolutely nothing? And I'm like, obviously it was through His mind and His own imagination that He just created things. But I was like, well, when did it start? Like, all of those thoughts are in my brain, but it's so beautiful when you sit and think about it. And whenever He's telling Job that, He's like, this is so humbling for you because you know nothing. Yeah. You know absolutely nothing. You don't know how vast the sea is, but God does. You don't know how many grains of sand are on this earth, but God does. God knows how many hairs are on your head. He knows all of the specifics, but He also knows the vastness of everything. Yeah. And He realizes that the vastness of His power, like, we are supposed to be praising Him for that, because we need, literally, when you just recognize it, you're like, how big is God? Yeah. Like, I've been sitting outside, and I've been, out on a walk and all this different stuff recently, and I've just sat and thought, and I was like, look how beautiful this is. Like, look how beautiful the sky is.
Mm-hmm.
God created that. Like, all of the things that I'm just looking at in nature, like, God is so big that he created all of this beauty, and I get to live inside of it.
And when he's talking to Job, because Job's in a moment of doubt and honestly, maybe a type of anxiety, he's just worked himself up thinking like all these doubtful thoughts. And God looks at him and he's like, I created you. You are breathing right now because of me.
Right.
Like I could take your breath away in a second and then he's just gone. So why wouldn't we rely completely on God for everything? And this isn't in my notes, but when we were talking about this concept earlier on, we kind of had a funny story. So when we were both younger, for some reason, we really loved this idea of like a blindfolded type game. We didn't have a blindfold. So I was like, let me go. I'm going to run down this hallway. And I said, you can lead me. I'm going to close my eyes and run. Why on earth is that a smart idea? I do not know.
It was so bad.
We were much younger. This was not a recent thing. But in my mind, I was like, oh, Britton will lead me. It'll be fine. Well, when I wasn't listening to your direction, I ran into the corner of a wall and had a giant bump pop up off of my head. Not off of my head.
Scarring.
Like it was terrifying.
It was awful. I was like, I did this to her.
Yeah, it looked bad. And then Britton was like, oh no. But when you were telling me where to go and when you would be like, okay, slow down. Okay, stop. Then I knew because you could see the full hallway. I couldn't see where I was going. I kind of had an idea of it, but I couldn't see where I was going.
Right.
And that's a concept that relates a lot to us and God because we may think we see what is best for us. And we may be like, well, if it were my choice, I would put myself here, here, and here. But God's like, no, you don't see the bigger picture that I see. I know it's smarter for you to go here, here, and here. Even if it may not be what you want, or maybe you'll experience loss, maybe you'll experience heartache, but ultimately I know what's best for you. So this whole concept of God is all-knowing and we are not. So obviously we should lean on him, but it's like, how do you do that practically?
Right.
And there's a lot in the concept of fear. Fear can be handled multiple ways because I personally do not think fear is bad in itself. Like we are afraid of things. God told people do not fear because he knew they would. But at the same time, what you do with that fear matters a whole lot. If you are taking that fear and going down this spiraling anxiety effect, or even just letting it get out of control, letting it control you, that is not healthy. And it's rooted in lies. So a lot of the time, it doesn't even make sense. When I was writing down some of these examples of anxiety in my life, I'm like, how does that even, that makes no sense at all. But in the moment, you're so caught up by this fear that you're letting it control you because that's what you're fearing the most. When you fear God the most, it's not in a fearing, like, scary way. It's not looking at God like, oh, I'm terrified of you. I'm so afraid of your judgment. But it's a, like, awe-inspired, God is so good, I can't even fathom him. I can't even fathom anything about him. And I want to fear him more than anything else, which is the concept of the whole Bible study. So in this concept specifically, we're talking about brain dumping. And it's like, how do you distinguish all of these things? How do you distinguish the fears that are good, bad? And how does it relate to you? How does it relate to God? And step one in the brain dumping process is just get it out on the page. Get it all out, and then you can sort it out. So I'm just going to be completely real. I've got 5 examples of just real fears that either I've had or I've had something similar to this. It's just going to be examples for the purpose of the concept. But and the really important thing about brain dumping, this concept we keep talking about, is you need to do it in a journaling method because you can talk to people a lot, and that's a very, very healthy thing. I have conversations with you. I have conversations with my parents. I have conversations with my best friend, and a lot of times those are all different conversations. I talk to you guys about different things, and it is super helpful. In a way, it heals me. Like if I'm ever anxious about something, even if it's just something in my brain, it helps me so much to get it out. But for your own personal growth in your life with God and just the anxieties and struggles you might deal with or the fears you might deal with, it's so important to get it out on a page, and we'll show you why. So brain dumping, this concept, you start out with get it out, just everything on your brain, no matter how silly or goofy it sounds. And some of these sound really goofy. So there's 5 different points that I'm writing down. Pretend this is the end of the day and you're brain dumping everything in your brain. Number 1, it feels like I can't breathe. I know that may sound stupid, but when I was really, really anxious a lot in 7th, 8th grade, I would have I had a couple of anxiety attack moments. I felt like I could not breathe to the point where I literally told mom and dad, can you check my oxygen? Like one of those little finger checkers or whatever. I don't know what they're called. And I would check it. It'd be completely fine. I was like, I don't understand. It feels like I can't breathe. But feelings lie to you. So like I may have felt like this fear was absolutely overwhelming me that, well, what can I do about this? So anyway, I'll keep going with that in a second. But the first fear is the first thought in your brain dump is, it feels like I cannot breathe. The second thought is, I have social anxiety about what I said to this girl earlier today. I can't believe I said that. That probably made me sound so awkward. The third one is, I have fear of missing out because I have to work next Saturday when all of my friends are going to go on this outing without me. The fourth one is, I'm so scared. My sister is sick and my parents are sick, and I'm afraid that I'm going to get sick too, and that I'm going to miss out on things, and I don't want to get sick because getting sick is bad for you, and it's scary. And then the fifth is, I don't know where I'm going to go to college next year. So I have a fear of the unknown. Or this could be, if you're not in high school yet, it could be the fear of going to high school, a new change, moving school, something along the lines of that. So all of these things are completely different, but that was everything in my brain, right? So then the second step is to sort it out. Like sort out what of these things are actually in my control and what's out of my control. Because we both know spiraling does not go well.
Yeah.
Which you might talk a little bit more about the breathing thing, but like a spiral with that, the feeling of, oh, I can't breathe, is typically rooted from other things. Like if you're stressed about homework, or if you're really stressed about the way you look, or something that happened at school, something embarrassing, a lot of those things build up. And then some people have probably never felt this before. Some people are probably like, oh, that's so me. But it genuinely, when I would get in stressful feelings like that, it would feel like I couldn't breathe. And then I would spiral and think, is something wrong with me? Am I sick? Like in most extreme cases, am I going to die? Like that's just the most extreme anxiety takes it. And then if you write that out on a paper, then you look back at it and it's like, I can't breathe. What in the world? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like I can breathe just fine. So if you want to talk a little bit more about that, how is it so difficult when you would get in a spiral instead of giving it to God to just keep going and going?
I had dealt with some, over the past year, even recently, I had dealt with some anxieties with school and with, social life, just everything, being a high schooler.
Yeah.
And I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, and I was just constantly like dwelling on that, and I wasn't thinking about being joyful, or I wasn't thinking about just other things. I was constantly focusing on that, and constantly I would keep those thoughts in my brain, and then that would be like almost second nature for me to just automatically think about those things, and to not remove those from my brain and start practicing healthier thoughts. Then I never felt like I couldn't breathe, but I felt like I couldn't get enough air in my lungs. Like it felt like I was constantly like
short breath.
Yeah, like I was taking these big breaths just to fill it up for a second, but then I was like, it's not working. But then any other breath that I tried to just calm myself down, it wasn't working quick enough. And so then I would stress out more, and I would be like, I can't handle this, because now it's making me anxious, and it's making my stomach hurt, and it's making me think about all of these different things. And then I started to go on a heavier spiral, because then I was like, I don't know what to do, because I feel like the simplest thing in my life is being taken away from me. And that was also another thing whenever I was dealing with a lot of knee issues with dance, and I was like, the one thing that has been easiest is being taken away from me. Like walking around is hurting now. And like the anxiety with that, even that caused me to think about my breaths more. And I was like, the easiest things that should be so simple for me, and that have been easy since birth for me, like those things, anxiety is taking away from me.
Yeah. Also, we both just got over the flu.
Yeah.
So if we sound bad, we might sound terrible.
I'm really sorry, guys.
But we don't have fever, so we should be making sense.
We're okay.
Yeah, but we had a little sickness this year. But it was so real, honestly. Like, it felt so real in those moments that you build yourself up and think, I can't breathe, I can't, or I'm going to get sick, or I there's something wrong with me. But ultimately, if you put that on the paper, you can literally look at it after all this brain dumping stuff is done and be like, what in the world? This makes more sense because I realize it's a lie, you know? Which I'm going to kind of merge steps 2 and 3 together, because step 1, like I said, is get it out. Write out everything you're thinking, good or bad. Like there could be some good moments that you're like, really grateful for this today. Just get it all out. And then step 2 is to sort it out. What's in my control, what God has given me in my control, or what's completely out of my control. But then from those 2 boxes, then write down what practical steps do I need to take today. So like for the breathing thing, if that's an actual struggle for you, what's something, is that in your control? Well, not necessarily the feeling that first comes up is in your control, but what can you do about it? What is in your control is you could take 10 deep breaths when you feel overwhelmed. You can commit to, anytime I start to get this lie that I can't breathe, like maybe my oxygen's low, maybe I'm doing something, which sounds so crazy, but then just take 10 deep breaths and remind yourself, I have breath in my lungs. Just take a moment and pray and be like, God, thank you for the breath that you have given me. And it'll change your perspective. And then the second thing, the social anxiety thing we were talking about, me and you have both done this a bunch. I do this all the time. Like things that I
there
even
are thoughts
tell
that still keep me up at night.
Yeah, things that I even tell like you or my best friend sometimes. Like it doesn't even matter who it is necessarily. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I could have said that in that situation. Or like, oh, when she told me this, I could have said this. Or like, oh, when my teacher asked me this question, why didn't I do this? But if you let that control you, there's a never-ending loop to that, because you could have said everything differently from the moment you were born till now. But you said what you said for a reason. So honestly, like the is this in your control or not? Well, it's not in control what you said, because you cannot go back and fix that. There's no like, somebody had told me as a kid the concept of you can't take words back once they're said. You can't push toothpaste back into a bottle. It just doesn't work. But like what you can control is you can mark it off the page. Like when you write it down and say, I'm so anxious, can't stop thinking about I should have said this when my friend told me this today. You can mark that off the page and say, nope, I can't control that anymore. Instead, let me replace it with this thought and some uplifting thought or some replacement of it. And then the third one is the fear of missing out. This is honestly a struggle for me. Like not it doesn't control me, but it is actually a struggle, because I love doing things so much with other people that when they do things without me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. Like not actually, but the fear of missing out. So let's say I have to work on a Saturday and all my friends want to go to a pool party and they're all going without me. So then I can go down a spiral. And if I do go down a spiral, if I feed into that fear of missing out, I can go into the spiral of, you know what? It's okay. Like, even though you can't go to this one, they'll probably have fun without you. And then they may not invite you to the next one. Or
they'll have a bunch of inside jokes.
They'll have a bunch of inside jokes, and then it'll be awkward. And then, you know what? Maybe they don't even like really need you there. Like, do you even bring that much value to the group? Maybe they don't want you anyway. Maybe you don't actually have any friends. Like maybe you're lonely. And you can keep going and going and going. But when you write this out on a paper, you can go, okay, stop. Absolutely not. That's such a lie. Like these people love you. So instead, you can't control the fact that they're going to go to that pool party. They're going to go with or without you, even though you have to work. You can't control that. But what you can control is, you know what? These 5 girls that I'm friends with, that they're all going, I'm going to send them each an individual text over the next couple of days of something that they've done for me or something, how they mean to me, and just tell them I care for them in a way. And then another one that we had talked about was the fear of getting sick. This has been an honest fear for both of us. I mean, I just told you we both got over the flu, but I was kind of scared when you got it because I had plans. My best friend was getting baptized soon, and I had some family plans, some friend plans, and I was like, I can't get sick. Like I literally can't. It would not work at all. And I worked myself up that I was so scared of getting sick. That then the morning I woke up sick, I just cried. I was like, this is all my fault. And Mom was like, you don't make yourself sick. That's dumb. Or like around Christmas time, I had gotten sick multiple years in a row. So then I was a little scared, like, am I going to get sick again this Christmas? Just because I always have. But I can either feed into that fear and be like, well, all your friends are sick, you're probably going to get it. Or like, oh, well, you always get it around this time, so you're probably going to get it right now. Like, go ahead and be prepared. And I can feed into this fear that seems kind of dumb. Or I can get enough sleep, hydrate, and rest and stay active and just control the things I can control. Because again, if you're sorting out, this is on your brain dump, the fear of getting sick, then you can sort out, okay, well, I can control these things to take care of my body. I cannot control whether I get sick or not. So I cannot stress about that too much. And then the last one that I had on there was the fear of the unknown, which I'm sure a lot of people deal with in different ways. For me, for both of us, it was moving schools for a little while. For me right now, it's college and moving away. And ultimately, you can't control the future. So in that box, you can't control the future or what's going on. What can you control? Well, you can pray about it and you can pray for it specifically. Like for the longest time, I was talking to my Mimi over Christmas break, and she was like, so have you prayed about going to college? And I was like, honestly, I think I've prayed more about the stress about it and the fear about it than actually the guidance that I need from God, because I had prayed plenty of times, well, God, take away my anxiety, like just remind me that you're in control. But I never really stopped to be like, God, where do you want me? Like, show me the guidance and give me the peace to follow where you want me and not where I want to go or not what's going on in my life. So those are ultimately like you can sort everything out in this brain dump. So step one, like I said, get it all out on the page. Then sort it out, what's in my control, what's out of my control. And these next steps are so practical. Get so specific. Like if you think it's dumb, that's like, oh, well, I have a fear of missing out. That can be fixed. You can talk to certain people. You can send them a message. Like that's not that hard. And then the final step in all of this brain dumping is just to write out a prayer. It can look a million different ways depending on how your brain dump went for the day. Maybe it was a really good brain dump. Like a lot of people don't deal with anxiety, and that's a great thing. Or they don't deal with certain fears in a day. Maybe it was such a great day. You just brained up everything good and say, thank you, Jesus, for this incredible day. Maybe that's all it is. Or maybe it's a really hard one. You're saying, God, I need to give these things to you because ultimately this is out of my control and I need you to take control of this. I need you to take care of it. And I need you to remind me that I don't have control. And this overall concept of just fearing God over these unknowns and fearing God more than these other fears, struggles, relationships, other things in your life, putting him first will put all the rest of it into perspective. And it will show you that he's so much greater. All of these other things are minimized, good or bad. They are minimized because his fear, like the fear of him, he's so, so good that it's hard to even describe.
Right. Because like you're putting all of your mind's attention and your heart's affection on God when you're fearing him. Because like if you're afraid of something, typically that's what your attention goes to. And that's everything that your mind is thinking about. And you're like, I'm so afraid of this. I'm so afraid of this. And then like you see it everywhere. And if we put our fears in God, then you're seeing him everywhere. And he's constantly on your mind. And that's putting the scripture inside of you and getting in the word and praying and constantly talking to God and talking about God and all of these different things that you can do. And like with this brain dumping, at the end you always pray and you always pray about it. And like even if reading scripture is hard for you in the moment, like I have been getting back into the word after not being in it for a while, and I have been trying to read more scripture, and like I'll read it and I'll get stuff out of it and it'll be amazing, and then the next day I'll be like, what did I even read yesterday? Like I completely forgot about it. But the thing is, whenever you keep putting the scriptures into your heart, it will show up back later, and you will know that. And if you keep doing the truth, it will get better. And you just have to get through the really hard parts, and you just have to keep going, and you have to keep desiring more and more of God. And eventually you're going to realize I'm fearing him because I'm in awe of him.
Yeah, and sometimes we walked out of anxiety seasons that we're not really in right now. We walked out of a grief season that we're not really in right now. I mean, we still experience loss and heartache and all those things. But walking out of a lot of those seasons and going into new seasons of, I've never feared college before, honestly. And these different changes and seasons of life, sometimes you need the scripture so much in your own life because of the season you're in. And sometimes God's preparing you to help a friend out, or to be a light to your family, or to be a light in your school. I mean, God has such a, like we said at the beginning, so much of a bigger plan than we do. So we may not see the purpose in spending time with him at certain points, or in those extra 15 minutes of prayer. We may not see the result right away. But if you stay consistent, stay in the word, and just keep seeking after him, you will learn that fearing him is much easier than it seems, or much easier, more, because some people are intimidated by it.
Yeah.
But just fearing him will literally fix all of your other problems.
Yeah.
So we are so glad that you guys joined us for this first little mini episode.
I mean, how much more real can you get? We got
Let's Get
vulnerable
Real.
up in here.
Yeah. I mean, we showed you the deepest parts of our brain.
yeah.
And that maybe people are like, okay, these two, we're getting out of
These
here.
two.
We are not listening
Ain't
to them
none of us
anymore.
dealing with this.
Yeah. But I hope that you guys found some encouragement in this. And the brain dumping method really does work. So grab a journal tonight, whether you are in your best day ever or the worst of the worst. Grab a journal, write it all out, and then sort it out. Decide, figure out what's in your control versus what's out of your control. What practical steps do you need to take? And then just write out a prayer and give it to God.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you back next week for another episode in this series.